happy going back to Hogwarts Day, because yeah, it's September 1st day, as we all know. We go to platform 9 3/4 and get on the Hogwarts Express and go to Hogwarts. Or at least those of us who have gotten their letters, which sadly I haven't, but that's alright. It's okay. Anyway, it's September, which means it's time for my last month's wrap up, and it was actually a pretty good reading month for me, surprisingly, but I'll get to that in a second. Right, so I started the month with Fangirl by Rowell, and I really loved this story, even though I didn't connect with it as much as I thought I would, because a lot of booktubers have said that they really relate to the character and all that stuff, and while I do understand her, I don't exactly relate to her. And I first realized that when at the beginning she didn't go to the dining hall because she was kind of afraid to go there by herself, because where will she sit, and it's just such an anxiety type thing, and I've never had that problem. I go to places by myself all the time. In fact, I just spent several hours at Starbucks all by myself and smell like coffee, but that's besides the point, and I don't have a problem with that. So in that way we're not the same. Also, she writes fanfiction, which is great for fans, you know. I, on the other hand, don't really read fanfiction and write fanfiction, so we don't really have that in common either. However, we do have in common the reading of the books and the fan world, so we have that in common. But yeah, other than that, I really enjoyed this book. It was absolutely so cute and unexpected in many ways, and I just really enjoyed it, and it was a pretty quick read too, so definitely I really like the Rainbow Rowell books. This is only my second one and I'm already in love with her, like seriously. I need to get more Rainbow Rowell books. And then after that I marathoned through all 8 of the Maximum Ride books by James Patterson, and they're really awesome, and they're not, I mean, they're your average size books, about, let's see, average size, if 420 pages is average size, but they're like a normal size book, but they were so quick read because the action, it's like an ongoing, it just keeps going, and there's no good stopping places, so you just want to keep reading to see what will happen next, and then you finish one, you start the next, and before you know it, 8 books just like that, bam. But in case you don't know what those are about, basically they're about a group of children or teenagers who have been experimented on ever since they were, basically before they were born, because they call themselves test tube babies, because they were created in a lab and they were experimented on with other, like splintering, I don't know if you know what that is, but basically it's when, or splicing, I don't even use the right word, splicing is the word that I was trying to use. That is when you get genes from one creature and another creature and you kind of try to make them work together to create a whole new species kind of thing. And these kids, while they're like 98% human and 2% avian, so they're bird kids, they have wings, actual real wings, and they're like, their whole bone structure is completely different. Like they have a lighter bone structure because they have to be able to fly, and the whole bunch of stuff basically, and they need like 3,000 calories a day because of all the flying and something. Anyway, the point is, it's a really awesome series, and like I said, it's action-packed and it's adventurous and it's like, it's fight the men, and it's an awesome series and I really enjoyed it. And then I recently did a 30 before 30 video series. It was supposed to be one video, but then I started editing it and it turned out that it's too long to be one, and because I didn't want to make like a half-an-hour video, so I split it into 3 parts, and that was like 30 things I want to do before the 30. The link to those videos will be down below in the description, and one of the things that I talked about was doing a gluten-free month, and in order to do that I first have to do some research. So I ended up reading 2 books on gluten-free eating, gluten-free on a shoestring and recipes for gluten-free kids, because I'm a kid at heart and sometimes I just need the kiddie stuff because they're so much more fun than the adult stuff sometimes. Anyway, so I read these books, not too much to it really. Reading a cookbook is so weird, but yeah, I read them, and while everything in here is gluten-free, is not necessarily health conscious. Like, this is budget conscious, but not necessarily health conscious. So when I do my gluten-free month, I'm gonna have to do some extra work on that and make sure that all the ingredients, in addition to being gluten-free, have to be like healthy stuff. Like, for example, in this one there's a lot of processed things, like, I don't know, frozen vegetables instead of fresh vegetables kind of thing, and fresh vegetables are supposed to be healthier for you than frozen vegetables, and it's just little things like that, you know? So very good advice in these. I'm definitely looking forward to my month, and there's a lot of recipes in here that I've already like highlighted that I want to do, and yeah, it will happen soon. I hope to make it happen soon, but we'll see. And then, because reading 2 cookbooks wasn't enough, I also read That My Drunk Kitchen by Hannah Hart, which just came out on like the 12th of August, and I had pre-ordered it, so it arrived at my doorstep, which is awesome. I'm super excited. I absolutely love Hannah Hart's videos, and when I saw that she has a book coming out, I immediately pre-ordered it. Like, literally, I found out and I went on Amazon and pre-ordered it. And here it is, and it's awesome. It's really funny. It's really more of I don't even know what to call it, but it's like a comedy cookbook and like life guidance cookbook, and it's really awesome. Okay, I have no other words for it. After that, I finally finished Trust, Pandora's Box, which is a 3rd book in the Trust trilogy by Christian Saruya. I actually did a book review on that. I will leave a link to it down below in the description, so go ahead and check it out. Also, this is the 3rd book, like I mentioned, and I will leave a link to the 1st book that I also reviewed last year, so go ahead and check it out. And then comes The Night Circus, which was the Booksplosion book of the month for August, and I really enjoyed it. I didn't know what to expect, and in fact I'm not going to tell you much about it because it's a deeply mysterious book, and I think you need to go into it without knowing what it's about. Also, if you see a blurb about it, don't read it, because no matter what, it will be spoilery, and just it's best to just go into it without knowing anything. And on that note, there are a lot of characters, there is a lot going on, and like I said, a lot of mystery, so it could be a little hard to follow at the beginning. In fact, I didn't really like get into it until 100 pages in or so, so definitely give it a chance at the beginning. I know it starts slow, but it's a fantasy world, so it needs to be built up, because you can't just be dropped in the middle of a fantasy world without knowing what it's about and expect to understand anything. It's just not how it works. But yeah, it was amazing, really. I really love the mystery of it all, and there's a lot of magic involved, and it's pretty awesome. Also, look at this beauty. It's just so beautiful, and it has pretty cover. I mean, inside things, yeah, words, not great at them, but it was awesome. So definitely go give it a read. And last but not least, in fact, I just finished this at the very last moment, is a book that I have on my Kindle. It's called Prepare, Travel, Return by Richert. And basically, if it's not really a travel guide, but if you want to travel internationally and you don't know what's what, and you don't know about the visas or requirements or how to prepare yourself for your international travel, it's a really good resource for that. Also, if you haven't traveled in a while, it's a very detailed like brush up on what to do and what not to do and stuff like that. It's really good actually. And she has traveled quite a lot, so she knows what she's talking about. And it's a great resource. So if you want to travel but don't know what to do, read that book. It will help you a lot. And those are all the books that I read this month. Quite a lot, surprisingly, but hey, it happens. So, that's it. Grand total of 15 books. That's really heavy. Also, I just dropped them all on the floor. But it happens with heavy books sometimes. It was really weird because at one point I was reading like 4 books at the same time. So that was really weird. But eventually I finished them all. My Goodreads list is clear. In fact, I was behind on my Goodreads challenge, but now I was very behind on my Goodreads challenge. But now I'm only 1 book behind, which I think is better than being 10 books behind. So I'm gonna take it, and now that I'm only 1 book behind, I think I'll be able to push through and make it work out eventually. And speaking of, I haven't quite decided what the next book to pick up is, and I did a TBR jar because I just decided it's time. And now, as you know, I haven't really done TBR lists for quite some time now. However, I have my TBR jar, so I will pick what the next book that I read will be. Okay, and I'm reading Where Darkness Shows the Stars, which is a book that I very recently acquired. There it is. It is so pretty. It is by Diana Peterfreund. Yeah, I don't... Peterfreund. Let's go with that. But yeah, I don't really know what it's about, but I can't wait to read it. So that's what I'm reading next. And then after that we shall see whatever basically... Heir Fire comes out tomorrow. Oh, so that's what I'm gonna be reading after that. Heir Fire, cause Heir Fire. You can't not read Heir Fire. That's blasphemy. I'm so jealous of all the people who went to the BEA and got Heir Fire like months and months beforehand. So jealous of those people. But next year I'll go to BEA and then it will be awesome. Anyway, I'm starting to babble now, so that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this wrap up. It's a little bit on the long side, but that's what happens when I have so much to talk about. So if you stayed all the way until the end, then good job. That's awesome. And yeah, I will see you soon. Bye.